said awesome people. I see you. I feel you. Muriaga siana. Muriaga means how are you when greeting more than one person. Wemwega means how are you when you're saying hi to only one person. My name is Kaguka Funky. Of course, it's because I am awesome. So see, I'm full of swag and my great sense of fashion. I'm awesome like that, know what I'm saying? Niranyita. When you want to introduce yourself in Kikuyu, you say, Rito ryakwane, which means my name is. Say it. I now want you to introduce yourself in Kikuyu. Please start with Rito ryakwane and put your name at the end, okay? Start. Fantastic! Oh, Chaka! Oh, you have made me do a somersault! Now that we've introduced ourselves, I want to tell you about myself. First, you can all see my hair. By the way, hairs are called boko in Kikuyu. Boko. Say it with me. Boko. Bokos are the sharpest animals in the animal kingdom. We have long, sharp ears and big, cute eyes. Ears are called mato, while eyes are called maido. These features make us see far and wide and listen carefully so as to avoid being eaten by Hiti, the hyena. That's how a Hiti just laugh. So, kids, I want to tell you arugano. You know what's arugano? Arugano means story in Kikuyu. What are we learning today? Our lesson is about trusting and obeying. Okay, here goes. Sit down, I tell you arugano. Once upon a time, back in the very olden days, there lived a beautiful girl called Nemo. Nemo was a very hard-working girl who loved helping her mother with the household. Her parents loved Nemo very, very much. Now, one fateful day, Nemo was asked by her mother to go fetch firewood so that they could make the fire and cook the evening meal. And so, Nemo set out to go and fetch the firewood. On the way, she met with her friends who had been tasked with similar duties. And so they all set out into the forest. After they had gathered enough firewood, they started heading home. But on the way, they noticed a very big house hidden in the bushes. Beside it was an orange tree, which had very nice looking ripe oranges. Yum! Nom 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 nom! Oranges are called in Kikuyu mashugwa. Now back to our story. One of the girls suggested that they pick the oranges and share between themselves. Nemo remembered that her mother had warned her not to ever take anything that didn't belong to her or her family. And so she reminded the girls that their mothers would be very upset with them if they stole their oranges. The girl who had suggested the scheme was too sly for Nemo and the rest. She convinced them that they would all take an oath of silence and none of them would ever spill the beans. She also suggested that since Nemo was the smallest amongst them, she would be the one to climb the tree and throw the oranges down for the rest to pick. Now, Nemo agreed half-heartedly. And so she climbed on top of the tree and started picking the oranges and throwing down for the rest to pick. Suddenly, there was a very loud thundering roar that was quickly followed by darkness. It was as if there was very thick, dark cloud that had suddenly covered the sun. Nemo looked up and saw an ogre, a giant that had only one eye in the middle of its face. The ogre was very, very huge, bigger than the tree she was on, and he was coming her way. My gosh, she was so terrified. She then looked down and noticed that all the girls had fled. They had left her all alone to deal with the ogre. She knew she had to run for her life, so she hurriedly climbed down and ran as fast as her legs could take her. But the giant was hot on her heels. Why? Why? She cried. This is Kikuyu for woi. Woi. Mother, help me. The ogre was closing in on Nemo, but she continued running as fast as she could, screaming and calling her mother to help her. But by this time, her mother had heard the screaming and she came out to see what was happening. She was so shocked to see a huge ogre chasing after her daughter. Nemo's mother ran back into the house, calling out her husband to come out with arrows and spears so as to rescue their daughter. Now, other men who had also heard the screaming had also rushed back to their houses and fetched their arrows and spears. By now, the ogre was almost catching up with Nemo. He had even started stretching his hand to grab Nemo when all of a sudden, a huge rain of arrows came piercing all over his body. He stopped for a brief second and then came crashing down. One of the arrows struck his heart. Nemo ran straight to her mother and tightly embraced as if they would never let each other go. Later on, Nemo narrated all what had happened. All the girls were called and reminded the dangers of not listening to their parents. A goat was slaughtered to offer thanks to God, and afterwards, the giant was buried in the forest and a lemon tree planted on the grave. From that day, Nemo was nicknamed Wairimu, which means one belonging to the giant ogre. Irimo is giant. Say it with me. Irimo is a giant. Many years later, the name stuck. You can now find many Kikuyu girls named Wairimu. And that is the end of my story. It teaches us to listen and to obey to the teachings of our parents. Our parents want the best out of us, and they know how best to keep us away from things that can put us in danger. Here are a few Kikuyu words to remember. Muriega means how are you when greeting many people. Wemwega means how are you when it's only one person. Siana, many kids. Kana, one kid. Retoa means name. Reakoa means my. Boko is hair. Mato are ears. Maitho means eyes. Hiti is hyena. Rogano means story. Irimo is a giant or an ogre. And finally, Tiguoi nawega means goodbye.